There is only one way this war ends. Last man standing.
Is it over yet, Mary? Make it end.
Nearly 2 days, is it? Is it 2 days?
Something like that.
And then we can get rid of this crappy old year and see in a new one.
If you haven't already guessed, then this is our end of year 2020 in review on the CineChat podcast. Welcome. It's a funny one. We've just been talking, haven't we, about I mean, I've not found it too difficult, but I think yourself and probably a lot of other people have found it difficult putting together a list of what is the best of this year, because it's been interesting, sparse in areas, busy in others, but ultimately not a lot to choose from.
No, it's not that there haven't been films coming out. They've just maybe not been in my wheelhouse. That's probably the issue for me. So I don't have 10 as the normal top 10. I've got about 7.
Well, it's better than nothing.
We're going to try and go along with that.
Yeah. So in this episode, we're going to reveal our top 10 or 7 films of 2020, and we're also going to do a few shout outs for films that we've watched, not from this year, but that we might have seen for the first time or that we've rewatched.
Yeah.
And then we're just going to have a look at what 2021 looks like. Where's the industry going, do we think, if anywhere? A little update on the awards season, which is a little bit delayed, and then what's coming up on the podcast, because we've had a bit of a planning sesh.
We have.
Very exciting stuff. Okay, I mean, I've got a list of 10. Shall I? I can run through mine.
So start with your normal list of 10.
I'll try and do it as quickly as I can. But you might find some recommendations in here, because there's some films I think that the title doesn't tell you much about what it is, and the trailers I don't think have been that great either. So yeah, let's have a look. So my number 10 of this year is I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which is by Charlie Kaufman, who wrote and directed. And if you know his films, you'll know that they're real head scratchers, really creative and clever. I think it's maybe the most unique film I've watched this year, because it's funny and it's confusing and it's sad, it's scary and it's annoying. It doesn't seem to follow any sort of rules or laws, but everything, and I mean every detail, is part of another layer, big subtext that goes on through the whole film, which answers the question, like, what is it about? And it's definitely one that you need to watch twice, because things just don't make sense the first time around. It's designed that way. It's got Jessie Buckley, who I initially wasn't sure about, but she's actually very good in this. And people like Toni Collette and David Thewlis play the parents of her boyfriend. Very good. Okay, number 9 is The Devil All the Time, which came out on Netflix, I believe. I wasn't expecting the film to cover as much ground as it actually did.
Yeah.
In fact, I ended up comparing it to like a Tarantino film and a Scorsese film, like both mixed together, which is quite high praise, I think.
It is.
It's like a saga of one family over a decade or two. And there's lots of crisscrossing plot threads of the people who live and work around the area, and there's loads of corruption, and there's a priest who's corrupt, and there's a policeman who's corrupt, and there's serial killers. It's all sort of post-World War II America.
So lots of negativity then.
Absolutely, and it's pretty brutal, to be honest. I think it's an 18. It's got a great cast. It's got Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, Bill Skarsgård, people like that. And one thing I really liked is that the author of the novel is the narrator in the film. That must be a really faithful adaptation of the book.
Yeah.
I do recommend that one. I think it's very good.
Okay.
Number 8, getting there. Tenet. Honestly, what an incredible spectacle. I mean, to put to screen those kind of things that I can barely even comprehend, let alone conceive, it is a mad achievement. It's really quite special. It's about time, and time going forwards and time going backwards, and sometimes time's going forwards whilst other things are going backwards, and people and things are interacting at different directions of time. I don't know how they did it. Fight scenes and things like that. You've got planes crashing, explosions, everything's done practical effects. But again, you've got to watch it twice, because some stuff that you learn at the very end, maybe even in the last frame of the film, help make sense of the things you first see at the beginning. So it did have some problems. There was the sound mixing
Yeah, it's not
thing.
had the best reviews, especially for a Nolan film. It's had some not so good ones.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, he even tells us through the dialogue, don't try and understand it. Your brain's going to hurt. He basically says to you, it's meant to be this way. I've made it this way. Take it for what it is. And I think something admirable about that, he's not...
changed it for the audience.
He's
done it his way and stuck to it.
Yeah, sort of stuck to his guns. It seems like it's an idea he's had since he was making Memento. I'm sure he knew what he wanted to make, and I'm sure he went out and made it. So who are we to say that there wasn't an emotional core, and maybe he didn't want one? So yeah, from a spectacle point of view, it's up there. Number 7, a film that I did not expect to put on any list, not least because it's directed by Spike Lee, who I have a really hard time liking, and I thought the trailer for this was just not good. Was Five Bloods. I actually really enjoyed it. It's a treasure hunt film. It's a Vietnam War film. It's a film about friendship and family, but it also goes in lots of surprising directions. A bit of a Black Lives Matter film as well, made before the big explosion of it all. In about March, April. It's quite far-fetched in places, and some plot points are a bit convenient, but the film finds a way of balancing it out with things that are completely surprising, and things get sour. So yeah, long way to go. Number 6. Now this is the one I always argue. It was in the cinema for more days in 2020 than it was in 2019. So my number 6 is Little Women. I don't think, if you can't get to the cinema in the first 5 days, I'm sure it's okay. It was still in the cinema. I saw it in January. It's in my list for 2020. Shocking trailer again. And if you haven't seen the film before, or a different adaptation or read the book, the trailer showed off none of the depth that the film actually has. Made it look really flowery and vomit-inducing. And so yeah, it was just another really nice surprise. I remember most sort of being invested in the characters and the family and the relationships. And I know they did a lot of rehearsing beforehand, so those relationships were authentic on screen. I like that.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a who's who of casting. Saoirse Ronan, Florence Pugh are amazing. Emma Watson's okay. Laura Dern, Meryl Streep, Timothée Chalamet. And I like how they kind of modernized it slightly. I could tell with the time jumps and some of the decisions, it was quite good. Okay, top 5. 5, Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Watched it really recently, having no idea what it was about whatsoever. But I love films that are about art and about artists and about the process of creating art. It's a new thing of mine, because I really like films like Never Look Away from a couple of years ago. I like the film Pollock. I like things like Mr. Turner, and it's the perfect subject matter for cinema because it's a medium about the art of looking and studying, and you see it in every detail in this film. It's as if you're looking through the eyes of a painter, and all the details are really delicate, and the textures and the colours and the light and the shades all really cool. And actually watching the painting being done, fabulous. And the concept's really cool. This painter's gone to paint a woman ahead of her arranged marriage, but she refuses to sit for the artist, so she goes there pretending to be someone else and has to memorize what she looks like to paint her. It's really cool. Took me by surprise. Number 4 is The Lighthouse. Watched it so long ago that I don't remember all of the specifics, but
just that it's absolutely mad.
it is bonkers. Yeah, and the atmosphere that's created is just so strong. It was hard for me not to put it high on the list.
Yeah,
weird, hypnotic, frightening, intriguing. Willem Dafoe's terrifying. Robert Pattinson does a really good job. In fact, this is the 3rd time already he's come on the list. Just watching things spiral out of control, and they get hungry, and they get claustrophobic, and they start having delusions, and they start hating each other, and it's just really interesting study of watching people, 2 people stuck together in a lighthouse, and the style like an old school horror film style, I should say, by Robert Eggers, who did The Witch. It's just really good, and the sound design's cool. Number 3, again, don't really remember much about it, but the conditions that I watched this in just made it this amazing film for me, and it was Waves, which came out early in the year for us. It's quite broad and profound in its themes, but it's not preachy. So in the same way I quite like Cloud Atlas and probably more similar to this film, Moonlight, things like that. I really like the humanity of it all. But what's interesting here is that the film completely flips halfway through.
Yeah.
Something happens in the story that I remember I didn't even tell you nearly 12 months ago what happens, but
Yeah.
it shifts completely. Like, you change main character, you change perspective. I think it changes style actually as well. Yeah, just really, really, really good. Number 2 is 1917. There's nothing you can't. Everyone knows what 1917 is
Yeah.
like. It's a proper journey. It's a vast obstacle course. It's historically really important. I think really accurate. Yeah, I just found myself holding my breath, especially as it gets towards the finale and Thomas Newman's score, which I thought maybe ought to have won the Oscar. The one take style, the cinematography that's just magic. Just fabulous. And then, my number 1 film of 2020 is Parasite. No surprise
Of course
there.
it is.
I just don't think anyone saw it coming. I really don't think they did. And for it to be a foreign language film and have the success that it did, taking Best Picture, Best Director, what else did it have? Best Editing, Original Screenplay, Production
What didn't
Design.
it have?
I know. I just thought it was perfectly made film. Like, there was nothing I could flaw about it at all. I came out and I was like, there is nothing that was wrong. And it's a great milestone for cinema with this whole, get over that 1-inch barrier of subtitles. I think that was a really good message that came after the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people still talk about it, and I think it's funny really, because it's a lot of people's best film of the decade for last decade, because it came out in 2019 for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I think it will be a lot of people's top for this decade, which we've only just started.
Yeah.
So, long story short,
Not a bad
top
10,
10.
really.
Top 10. It's a really good 10, I think. Yeah. Highly recommend all of them.
Okay.
Sorry for yapping on, but it's out now. I've done it. I'll shut up for a bit.
Mine is a little bit more higgledy-piggledy. And I had another 2 to add, so it might be 9 now.
Top 9.
However, I'm only rating the top, let's say, 4. The others just kind of come in afterwards. Just thought they were all good or okay, fine, so I couldn't necessarily rate them. I'm just going to throw them all out there.
Go for it.
And then I'll start ranking at the end. So I will start with Onward. I still only watched it in the summer. I didn't catch it when it came out. And I thought it was good. I thought the concept was great, very different, great for kids, with a lovely message, but it was just lacking something for me. I don't know whether I'm finally growing up, and it just doesn't quite hit the mark like it used to. It's like the story of a boy kind of living with the loss of his father. His father died when he was a baby, and he never met him, basically. And they're, what are they, elves? Are they elves?
They're sort of elves, aren't they? It's like
something
a
like that.
fantasy.
Yeah, it's sort of like a mystical fantasy version of America.
Yeah,
basically, which is very clever. That's kind of the most amusing part of it. If you've got dragons and centaurs and fairies and all sorts of creatures, but they're living in a way like a normal American city. So, I mean, I would definitely recommend it, but it wasn't quite hitting the mark for me. And I'll stick in there with that one as well. It's Soul, which I've just watched on Boxing Day. Again, great concept, so interesting. And it didn't exactly go where I expected it to go, which is nice. I always like not having a predictable film, because, I mean, we've seen hundreds of films. We know how most are going to go.
Yeah, that's true.
So I always find it a pleasant surprise when it's not predictable and it goes in a different direction. And this does have that. It didn't go where I thought it was going to go from what the trailer shows you.
Yeah.
But again, I just kind of, when it finished, I just thought, well, yes, it's a lovely philosophical idea and the message is great, but it just kind of left me a little bit empty. It didn't feel very full in terms of a plot for me, but I mean, it was an hour and 40 minutes, hour 45 minutes, and I just felt like, oh, well, but when you actually break it down, there didn't seem to be that much going on. Then another 2 I've watched this month that have come out. I've watched the Christmas Chronicles 2, which I thought was lovely. In fact, I actually preferred it to the first one, I think. I love the double act of Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. They were just fabulous together. And it was just sweet and innocent fun. So that one was great. I really enjoyed that one. And the same for Godmothered, which is Disney Plus's new film, came out at the beginning of December with Gillian Bell and Isla Fisher. And I haven't seen her in anything for years, Isla Fisher. And she's in this one. But yeah, it was just nice. It was good fun. Gillian Bell's brilliant. She is actually, I think, if I had to pick someone that has kind of stood out to me this year, because I actually watched another one and it'll be discussed later.
Okay.
I think she'd probably be my like kind of discovery of the year.
Yeah.
I really like her. I thought she was brilliant, and I will look out for other films she makes because I think she's really funny.
Yeah.
And she's just got something a little bit different that I like. So that was that one. And then I watched the other day, which is I can't quite rate it because it's the Rebecca remake and it's not as good as the original. So that kind of taints it a little bit. As a standalone film, it's not bad. It's not as gothic in places as I thought it should be, but it is stunning. The beginning when they're abroad, and then you come back and you've got this massive house, and it's you've got all of the looks, the visual looks. It's great, and as far as the characters and the plot go, it's not bad. A few little changes, but they do work for what it is. But you just cannot watch it without thinking about the original.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And that was the 1940 Best Picture, and it was for a reason. And it's, again, it just leaves you a little bit empty when you think about what it could have been. I was very disappointed with the Mrs. Danvers character. I just thought there was so much could have been done with it. That was the bit I thought was going to be done the best.
Yeah, me too.
And I really didn't think it was. He humanised her a little bit more than the original version, which was much more out there and stood out. But that's what I wanted. I wanted it to stand out. I wanted it to be like that, and it wasn't. So I would recommend people watch it because it's as far as a plot goes, it is an interesting plot. But I definitely recommend watching the original as well to see what it should be like.
Yeah, definitely worth it.
Right. So that takes us into the top 4. So the number 4 spot goes to Bombshell. Purely because I just think in terms of acting, it had a great cast. All of them were on top form. And obviously the message that it's giving, about these things are actually happening to women in the workplace, and it went through the story of Fox News and that, but it's happening everywhere and it's not acceptable. And I felt angry coming out of that film. It really made me react.
I remember feeling the same.
Yeah. Number 3, it's very close to you, 1917. For what it is and what it's trying to achieve, it's perfectly made. And the effort they've gone into to craft it and to put that together, you can't fault it for that. You really can't. And it's a hard watch. It is a hard watch.
I suppose so. So I saw it twice.
It's kind of, you go through the long haul. It feels a lot longer than it is, but not in a bad way. In the fact that
you feel like you've been on the journey.
Through, you're trying to get through this with him. You're trying to reach the end, and it really did work. Number 2 for me was Jojo Rabbit. I just thought the premise was completely out there, very different, but it just gave a different window to looking at the war, which was very clever. It was very clever, and the arc of the child from beginning to end, it really worked. Now, I know some people it didn't work for them because that toeing the line between drama and comedy, it's very difficult, and I know it didn't work for some people, but it got there for me. So, I felt the emotion when I was supposed to feel it, and I got the comedy when that was supposed to happen. So I did enjoy that one, and I'd recommend it. But number 1 for me, and probably by a high high mark is Enola Holmes.
Oh, right.
Big surprise for me. I just thought it would be this little movie, have a bit of a laugh. But it was so much fun. I haven't had so much fun watching a film in ages. It was so much fun. I watched it with my husband and we just laughed and we loved it. They broke the fourth wall, and it felt, it's a period film, obviously, being about Sherlock Holmes' sister. But it felt so modern as well, and I loved that. So I would absolutely recommend that. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it, because it was really good. And it wasn't it wasn't predictable. It didn't toe the line of what you would expect that movie of that type to follow. It kind of broke off and went another way, and I really liked that. It really did work for me.
It just helps being original, doesn't it? I know. I guess it's harder to do, but God, it works when it works.
It's a funny one, because in one sense it's not original at all, because it's based off characters that already exist, and and on this kind of format that we know, the Sherlock mystery, and trying to solve things, and a caper. It's kind of a mad adventure caper type film, and you think you know what they are. So in that way, it's not really original, but the way it actually puts itself across, very clever.
Yeah,
really, really clever. And Millie Bobby Brown was brilliant. She really, I mean, she perfectly cast. Absolutely perfectly cast. And I've said in my review, well, we've put up an end of year review on the website, and I've mentioned it on there. I would line up in a heartbeat to watch Henry Cavill and Sam Claflin as Sherlock and Mycroft again, because
they're not a bad combo.
Oh no, they were very good. I would absolutely watch them in a movie. Absolutely.
You never know.
So hopefully it's based on a book series, so hopefully, I think with its success, hopefully it will carry on. So that's my list. It's a little bit here, there, and everywhere.
It's not as bad as you thought. I don't think.
No,
it's quite a good
there's
list.
some good films on there. I just was expecting better. I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
So many of them were very meh. It was, if I had to put it as the year in a rating, I'd say it's a very 3-star year. It's not a recommendation, but it's just very average.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
So you've done a lot of rewatching this year.
Yes, I have. It's been the year of the rewatch for me.
The year of the rewatch. Year of the first time watch for me.
But I didn't do a lot of first time watching this year. There's only a few, but the ones that stood out absolutely were Turner and Hooch. I made full use of my Disney Plus subscription this year, and I watched that on there. And it was really good fun. Tom Hanks was just brilliant. You can just see why he became what he's become.
Yeah.
So that was good fun. Rocket Man, which I watched right at the beginning of the year, when we could visit our family. I watched that with my mum and my sister, and we had such a ball with that one.
It's like Mamma Mia, but slightly more serious.
Yeah, and then it's got that Bohemian Rhapsody kind of feeling as well.
Yeah,
just kind of
biopic-y and fun and
musical fun. Yeah. So I really, very entertaining. I came out of that, and I was also really impressed with Taron Egerton. He just fit the mold so well. And then my big surprise was Brittany Runs a Marathon, which I kind of put on as a whim, and that's the other Gillian Bell one that I watched. I would absolutely recommend this. It's only a little indie film, but it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It was really funny, and she plays this very modern type of character, because she's just down on life. She doesn't look after herself. She eats rubbish. She's kind of got no lease for life, I suppose.
Yeah.
And she's told by a doctor, if you don't change your ways, you're going to be in serious health trouble. And it's about her kind of changing her lifestyle, but she's not a very nice person. This is the thing; she's not nice to people, and she doesn't get close to people, and that's unusual. It's an unusual type of film, because you don't usually follow the protagonist who's actually really not that nice.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but it makes me think of like a mixture of Trainwreck and Run Fat Boy Run.
Together. I would definitely recommend giving it a watch, see what you think.
Yeah, no, well.
Because I just, when it finished, I just, I didn't feel like really, really good, like it was this uplifting, soaring thing, but I did feel like, I'm really glad I watched that. It made you think. And I really enjoyed it. So they were my 3 best first watches of the year.
Yeah.
And then I'm kind of cheating with my rewatches.
It's all right, you've mixed your list
Because
up,
it's
it's
more
fine.
experiences rather than just single rewatches. So I'll start with the singles because there's only 2. And that was Inception and Castaway. And they both stood out for the same reason, is that I hadn't seen either of them for years. And I'd just forgotten how good they were, frankly.
Yeah.
They really, really are amazingly made films. Inception's huge. The concept is massive and confusing, and there's so many layers. And then on the other side, you've got Castaway, which is just Tom Hanks. There's nobody else in it for the majority of the film, and he has to carry this movie. And they're both phenomenal pieces of filmmaking in very different ways. And I really enjoyed watching both.
They are good.
And then my other ones are more experiences. So this year, obviously, has been extremely difficult for most people. I think we've all had a bit of a wobble at times. And I think you reach for comforts, don't you?
Yeah.
Nostalgic, something that's going to make you feel good. For me, that's favourite films, so I've reached out for those ones that I know are going to make me feel good. So the first one, it was in March, actually. It wasn't long after the lockdown started, and I was feeling a little bit anxious. So I thought, what's a good remedy for that? Doris Day. I'm going to go with a bit of Doris Day.
Absolutely.
So I watched a double bill of Calamity Jane and Move Over Darling, and oh my God, it did the trick. It was like a medicine. It was so much fun. Calamity Jane is brilliant. It really is her at her absolute musical best. She's brilliant in that. And then Move Over Darling, which is, I don't know if she's in the Navy or she gets found on an island by the Navy anyway, and she's been missing and presumed dead for 5 years. And her husband's, he's literally, the day she comes back, has been remarried.
Oh no!
And it's all that kind of comedy of what they're going to do about it. Tell the new wife that his old wife's back, and all that kind of thing. And James Garner's brilliant in it as well. Really, really good laugh. I would definitely recommend that one. It's really, really good. So that really did the trick. And then another day, I did I'm calling it my Disney live action day.
Yeah.
And I watched the original Parent Trap, the remake of The Parent Trap, and The Princess Diaries, all on Disney Plus. So I've got my money's worth with that one. And oh God, it was so much fun. It really, really was. I haven't seen the original Parent Trap for a long time, and it isn't my favourite. I prefer the remake because I grew up with the remake. That was my version. But it's brilliant. Maureen O'Hara is just, she's so feisty. She's probably one of the better actresses of that era to watch. She holds her own in everything she's in. So that was well worth a watch. And Hayley Mills, obviously, is just a darling. She's just, I know you're not a big fan. I love Hayley Mills, so it worked for me. And then I decided when that had finished, I thought, well, do you know what? I'm just going to go straight on and watch the second one because, why not? So I watched the remake, and I haven't seen that one for years. It's probably been at least 10 years since I watched it. But I watched it so many times as a kid. I just know every line. And it was so much fun to kind of watch something so familiar. That was great fun. It became its own film. It wasn't a complete remake of the original. It is very different, but keeping all of the main beats. So well done. Really enjoyed that. And then The Princess Diaries, that is one of my absolute favourites. I grew up with that one.
It is good.
I remember going to the cinema to see that when I was about 9,
right.
And I remember coming out and it was one of those experiences when you came out and then you saw daylight again and you'd been in this other world for a couple of hours. And
That's a spiritual awakening for you.
Yeah, I was on cloud 9. I absolutely loved the movie, and I have ever since. Always watch it. And then I had another day
where
I decided I was going to do musicals. And I rewatched, after a very, very, very long time, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and Bedknobs and Broomsticks. I had a ball. I had an absolute ball. I sang along to every word, and I just had an absolute whale of fun. Absolutely,
A whale of fun.
It was just brilliant. It was so much fun. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It feels like a Disney movie, like a Disney musical, but it's also got this much darker undertone that Disney didn't really go for, and it's fantastic. And then Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Oh, I know you are not an Angela Lansbury fan.
I don't mind her in this.
She is perfect in this.
It's Murder, She Wrote that's awful.
You have a big problem with, I know. But this is her to absolute perfection.
Yeah, this is her best role for me.
You know, the effects really hold up, I thought. It really does hold up. So I kind of bundled all these little experiences together and made a day out of it. And yeah, absolutely had a ball every time. And that's been my year, really. It's very much reflects my year. I've just reached out for things of comfort, nostalgia, something I know that is going to make me feel good. And I've done that pretty much the entire year, really.
Yeah. I haven't.
No, you haven't.
I've watched a couple. I've watched a few that I'd seen before.
You've watched quite a lot of new films this year.
Yeah, well, I was quite lucky and not lucky, I suppose, in a roundabout way, that the topics that we covered on the podcast were things that I loved, but I had big gaps in. So for me, it was a year of being able to finally get round to seeing some things that have been on lists forever. You know, instead of trying to always catch up with whatever year you're in.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a few shout outs for me. I really enjoyed Train to Busan, which I know you recommended to me. It's just a great zombie film, really.
Oh, it's really well put together, isn't it?
Yeah, I love films that are in confined spaces and things that are on trains, so I like that. Again, Korean film. I think there's something happening at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
There's more to come. Minari next year's coming up. I loved Enemy, which was one of Denis Villeneuve's sort of smaller films around the time of Prisoners with Jake Gyllenhaal. Really cool concept. You know, a man finds a doppelganger of himself as an extra in a film that he watches, and he gets a bit obsessed with tracking down this person. And then when he does find him, their personalities clash and it gets very dark. I loved About a Boy. I thought that was one of Hugh Grant's most suited roles ever.
I need to rewatch that. I didn't enjoy it when I watched it. I didn't enjoy it very much. I think maybe my expectations were too high. But this was years ago, so I should really rewatch that one, actually.
I think if you watch it and align yourself with Hugh Grant's character and try not to focus too much on Toni Collette and Nicholas Hoult, it's much more enjoyable watching it through his eyes than through the boy's eyes. I think that's natural that I went towards the cynic and the sarcasm. So that was good. V for Vendetta had been on a list for forever. It's just so weird. I watched it on bonfire night amidst the global pandemic when everyone was wearing masks and the US election was coming to a head. It was just
perfect.
It couldn't have been any more perfect. So that was good. Inside Llewyn Davis was good. It's Coen Brothers, Oscar Isaac, Kerry Mulligan. You can imagine it's great. It's a great musical, actually. That's something I didn't anticipate. The songs are really good. A real comedy drama. You know, those films that get it just right really works. Solid film. The 39 Steps, the earliest film I watched this year. As I said on the podcast, it doesn't feel old.
No.
It's not limited by the 1930s technology or anything. It's a great spectacle, big scale, great mystery. Performances are very funny, scripts very funny. And then the other one's kind of obvious. Carrie. I was really surprised with how original Carrie was, but then again, it's Stephen King, so I probably should have anticipated that. I like how they inverted the whole horror genre a little bit. Then Corpus Christi, which was from last year, just completely just took me. I don't know what I was expecting, but the plot, the idea that this guy is released from jail, basically steals a priest's uniform outfit. Don't know. Turns up at this town and claims that he's the vicar or a vicar, but he's got a lot of demons that are going to catch up with him. I just thought it was brilliant. Arthur Christmas, great. British.
Fabulous.
Fantastic stuff. And Zulu, which the funny story behind that was that my mum didn't really explain it very well, and and if she explained a few more things or actually told me what it was about, I might have watched it sooner. But yeah, from start to finish, just was entranced by the whole thing. So yeah, okay. Well, that's the films that we'd like to shout out.
Quite a lot
just
of films.
Just a couple.
Yeah, just
a few. So we should probably just look at 2021, really. I mean, like I said earlier, for the first time in a long time, this year hasn't been dominated by big blockbusters, your superhero films, your box office draws. So a lot of stuff's been moved to next year.
Yeah.
But actually, the list isn't that long, but it was big names that this time last year we were
it
saying.
was all the big ones that we should have seen by now, basically.
Yeah. Things like Top Gun, Ghostbusters,
Wonder Woman,
the new Halloween, Wonder Woman, Mission Impossible 7, The King's Man, things like that.
Yeah.
West Side Story even got pushed back a whole
supposed to be
year.
out this Christmas, yeah.
So that'll be next year's Oscars.
Yeah,
but I think in a way, like a lot of indie films and festival and award circuit films, they've actually managed to have a bit more of the limelight, especially now they're coming onto streaming platforms.
Yeah.
In a roundabout way, although it's been horrible for cinemas, and we don't really know what that looks like going forward.
Or what it's going to look like,
it's actually done other areas of the industry some favours. I think.
I do think cinemas are going to have to claw their way back. I don't think it's going to be an easy route because they really have been affected by this economically. It's going to be a hard push, I think, to get them to where they were. I do think it will happen because everybody needs movies. I don't think that's going anywhere. I do think the industry have seen another way of doing things that works successfully. The difference being that you have the talent, basically. It's the directors, the creative people who are fighting for cinema. Yes, there's this other way to do things. Yes, it'll make you money. However, this is what the movie experience is supposed to be. And they're fighting to get that back to how it was and how it should be.
The interesting thing at the moment is that a lot of films, I don't know if it's just an interim measure, but films are going to be released in cinema and online at the same time, so you have the choice of which one you go to. But I just can't see many people choosing the cinema over staying at home now. It's convenience.
I don't know. Yes, convenience is a huge factor. It is for them maybe for the masses. Yes, I do think it will have an impact. However, I do think that there are a lot of people, more than probably we realise, that would go to the cinema, that want to have that experience, that use it as a way of going out. You meet friends, you go for dinner, you go to the cinema. It's an outing. So I think there will be a lot more than we think that will still choose that format.
Hopefully. Like more people might have missed it than we think. Yeah. Well, I guess time will tell. I mean, this year I think still been very strong. So surely next year can be just as good.
Yeah. I don't think we'll be back to normal anytime soon. I think the first 6 months are still going to be very much like 2020. I think it'll be the end of the year where we see any changes.
Yeah. But I guess speaking of 2020 still being a strong year, I thought it'd be good to give a quick update on where things are looking from an awards perspective, because I know it's all been pushed back. Usually this time of year we'd be getting the Golden Globe nominations coming out. Everything's sort of done a 2-month shift backwards. In case anyone's interested in what's already out and what you can see, what seems to be front runnering, that's a new word, and then what's due to come out in the next year. I'll give a quick overview now. So you may have seen a film called The Trial of the Chicago 7 out on Netflix. It's a shoe-in really for Best Picture. Director Aaron Sorkin, and loads of supporting actors in this, like Sacha Baron Cohen especially, Mark Rylance, a few others as well, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. I hope I've pronounced all of that correctly. Keep an eye out for that one. Very good. A film called Mank has just come out, which we were just talking about before, and I don't know whether it's accessible or not to people who don't understand or know much about the classical film industry, but it's about the writer of Citizen Kane. Again, Best Picture director for David Fincher, who's a very popular director, actor for Gary Oldman, even supporting actress for Amanda Seyfried? Amanda
Nobody can say
Seyfried.
her name.
I don't know. They're all likely to be nominated. Then you've got Ma Rainey's Black Bottoms, based on an August Wilson play, starring Viola Davis, who was also in a different play of his adapted called Fences. Actor Chadwick Boseman as well in his last film.
Yeah.
He's been put in the Best Actor category, and to be honest, he's the best thing about it in my eyes.
Yeah.
What else have we got? We've had The Five Bloods, which was in my top 10. Spike Lee for director, Best Picture. Best Actor, Delroy Lindo. I haven't seen him in anything else. I hadn't heard of him before, but he is fantastic.
And how likely are we to have things that like pop up that we don't know about yet? Because obviously, if the awards aren't in April,
it's possible. It's funny you say that. There are a few that are popping up now. A few examples of that. A new film called The Sound of Metal has recently gained a lot of momentum. Rhys Ahmed is apparently amazing. It's about a heavy metal drummer who loses his hearing.
I do fancy that one, actually.
Even the supporting actor, a guy called Paul, I think it's Racy. Apparently he's quite high up on the predictions at the moment. Another one's Promising Young Woman, which I hadn't heard about, but again, it's gained a lot of momentum for Kerry Mulligan in the actress category, maybe even for Best Picture. And Pieces of a Woman, when that got a lot of awards buzz for Vanessa Kirby. Obviously, this famous 22-minute one-take birth sequence, I believe, is in the film. And Ellen Burstyn as a supporting actress. But yeah, so other things you might want to look out for in the new year. We've got, let's have a look at January. The Father, starring Anthony Hopkins and Olivia Colman.
I do want to watch that one. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, sort of like I think it's dementia based, but it's more sort of surreal in a way.
Yeah, there's more to it than that, I think.
Yeah, more from his point of view, I think. What else have we got? News of the World is the new collaboration with Paul Greengrass and Tom Hanks. They did
I like the look
Captain
of that.
Phillips. It looks okay. But yeah, we'll see. It's coming out. What else have we got? A few others. Supernova with the Colin Firth and Stanley Tucci one, again a dementia.
Oh, can't wait for
drama.
that. Cannot wait for that.
And Ammonite, the Kate Winslet, Saoirse Ronan sort of romance, indie romance.
They're my people.
Thing.
I'm waiting for this.
They are your people.
They're my people. Yeah.
So apparently March is the date for those. Just a few other things. Like there's a long list, but The United States versus Billie Holiday, actress and singer Andra Day's got a bit of buzz. It's a Lee Daniels film.
Isn't there an Aretha Franklin biopic coming out next year?
It was moved. Yeah, it's moved to about September, I think.
Oh.
Because I think those two at the time cancelled each other out. They were both about singers, relatively same era, probably both race-related themes. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Yeah, Hillbilly Elegy for Glenn Close. It's still maybe a nomination, although the film is not good.
It's not amazing. Not getting the traction it was expected to, unfortunately.
And then, films like Soul might get a Best Picture nomination. Tenet's probably going to sweep a few of the technicals. I think it's still a really strong year. That's my overview. I'm going to stop now.
Okay, well, that leads us straight into our preview for next year then. For the podcast. Now, we had a very exciting planning session quite recently, and we are thrilled with what we've got coming up.
So far.
Very exciting. I think this might be a switch in terms of the years we've had. I think I will be filling more gaps next year. Whereas you've had that kind of year this year.
I've just looked at one of the bullet points on here and I'm like, yeah, you've got a lot to watch.
Yes, I do. I do have a lot to watch. So this is
now.
This is the types of things you have got to look forward to, people. We are starting the year off strong with JG's. Same initials. It's JGs. Unbelievable. We didn't realise until afterwards, which was so weird. We are starting the year off strong with Jake Gyllenhaal and Judy Garland. We've both picked a star that we wanted to focus on, and we're just doing a proper profiling, really. We're picking a number of films, things that we've seen, not seen, favourites. I'm really going to just be diving into them, so we're so excited for that. We've got a rom-coms episode around Valentine's Day.
We've got delayed from last year.
Yes, we're going to focus on some musicals, some of which have some big anniversaries coming up. We've got the James Bond episode, which has been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back along with the film, which we have been waiting for months now.
Yeah.
We've got the Oscars to look forward to. We will be highlighting that. We're going to do a John Hughes special, which I think will be a fantastic episode. Really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, lots of 80s.
And then we've got the franchises. So we are going to be looking at next year X-Men prequels. We'll be doing Lord of the Rings. And lastly, and most importantly, we are doing a 3-part special Harry Potter project.
20 years old.
Yes, we are really, really excited for this one. 20th anniversary, like Matt just said, and we are really going to be diving deep into that one. So I'm just thrilled. Can't wait. So that's coming next. Is it next summer, that one?
It will be, yeah.
So it's a long while to wait, but we're excited already.
Yeah. I think the way we're gonna do films 1 to 4, then 5 to 8, and then a whole bonus episode just full of quizzes and top 10s and favourite this, would you rather that,
Yes,
just
very
have fun
exciting.
With it. You can't not do it with something like that.
So it's looking like an exciting year, and that's only half the year, really.
You're pretty much, yeah.
That's only half of it. There'll be so much more to come.
Yeah.
So we're all looking forward to it, really, aren't we?
Jake Gyllenhaal next.
I know, it's looking like a very promising year. And we should probably end it there, shouldn't we?
I think
on a
that's
high
a natural
note.
conclusion. Yeah.
Not on the low negative that 2020 has been, but on the promising high of 2021.
Like I said, I think it's been a good year for films. I still think it's been a good year.
I think.
Yeah. And I think next year looks just as exciting. If not more.
Absolutely. So before we go, Matt, what film are you highlighting to recommend?
Right. Well, this is hard because I've recommended Parasite, 1917, Waves, The Lighthouse so far. So naturally, I'd have to go for my number 5, which I watched last week, I think, which is Portrait of a Lady on Fire. And I am behind. I'm aware it came out a long time ago for other countries, about a year ago for us. But yeah, I went in without really knowing much. I don't think I've spoiled much. No.
No, I don't think you have.
Everyone who's seen it will know the campfire scene. It's just it's a
look
delight.
Out for that one.
You can't miss the campfire scene. It's brilliant. There's no music in the film really, and then there's a moment in the middle that really is quite spectacular. I thought all the elements came together really nicely, and especially towards the end, you realise a lot of little subtle things that have been mentioned in conversation kind of get a really nice payoff. Everything sort of comes full circle. It's very nicely tied off, even though it's an open-ish ending. I think it's very good. So
brilliant.
I would say that.
Okay, and my recommendation, I don't think I've recommended it, but if I have, you're just getting a double recommendation because that's how much I think you should watch it. And that is Enola Holmes. Perfect for this week while we're in that little lull between Christmas and New Year. Yeah. Because it's so much fun. So sit down, watch it with the family. It is really, really, really good fun. Definitely recommend it. Great cast. The modernness of it and breaking the fourth wall. It's just brilliant. Definitely recommend that one.
I shall give that a watch.
Good. Okay.
I imagine both of those appear on our. I can't remember now. But if you go on the website, we've all done an end of year post, whether it's a top 5 of the year or an alternative like ours.
Yes. We didn't follow the usual structure, but when do we?
No, we were catching up.
We were catching up.
We were catching up.
They've been much better than us this year.
They have,
in terms of following things. So they've done a normal review. We've done a ever so slightly different one that we made up.
Treated.
So check that out because it is a good read. So Matt, where can they find us?
Well, you can find us, as we say, on our website, www.cinechat.co.uk/podcast, or across social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all sorts of listening platforms. Just search CineChat Podcast. Or you can email us at
podcast@cinechat.co.uk.
I don't know why I do that. Just
like something out of an advert.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Definitely need to record it.
Okay,
It'll happen.
All we have left to say is thank you very much for listening in 2020.
Yeah.
We've had a great year. We've loved every minute of it. And And we will see you in the next year.
Yes, Jake Gyllenhaal, I'm coming for you. I'm surprised I didn't pick Tom Hardy, but
well, there's always time.
I've just had a moment for Jake Gyllenhaal, and it was his birthday, and I just thought,
I know he's
what? He's done
40,
so
people.
much.
He's 40.
He's done so much good stuff. So, yeah.
So it's bye from me.
And it's bye from me. Happy New Year.